What if I told you that summarizing a great work of art actually destroys it? This is exactly what the new critic Cleanth Brooks says with his term Heresy of Paraphrase, and that's what we are going to discuss today in this video. Let me begin with an example. Remember the Hindi film Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara? We all remember it as an entertaining, heartwarming film with great music and fun moments. Now imagine a friend of yours who hasn't watched the film yet asks you, "Yaar, please tell me in a few lines what the film is about." And since you've been allotted only a few lines, you may say, well, it's a film about three friends. They go on a trip to Spain and overcome their fears. Now tell me honestly, while summarizing the film, won't you feel that the spirit of the film was butchered? Don't you think the friend should know about Bhagwati, the diamond biscuit ad, the scene where they sit in a bar and sing that Doordarshan tune, the scene where Imran throws Arjun's phone out of the window? Don't you think the friend should know about Leila and what a great person she is and how she transforms Arjun's life? Don't you think he should know about the complicated relationship that Imran has with his father, Arjun has with money and life, and Kabir has with his accidental fiancée? And the songs are so wonderful, so amazing, I still hum them sometimes. So the beauty of the film is not in its summary. It's in the little moments, it's in the little elements, the screenplay, the humor, the music, even the background score makes the film what it is. Similarly, imagine someone asked you, summarize Titanic for me in a line, please. And you say, well, the ship sinks. Of course, the ship sinks. But is that really the film? So if you try to summarize the films, the beauty vanishes. Similarly, if you try to summarize a work of art, especially literary art, the beauty is destroyed, it vanishes, it is killed, it is butchered. And this is exactly what Cleanth Brooks talks about in his famous essay, The Heresy of Paraphrase. And today we try to understand Brooks's Heresy of Paraphrase in this video. I welcome you all. Let's begin the lecture. So first, let's see what the term heresy means. In simple terms, a heresy is a big violation, almost like a sin, like blasphemy, like sacrilege. It's what you call in Hindi a paap. So for Brooks, heresy of paraphrase is like a literary paap. And Brooks is basically saying it's a literary sin to think that the meaning of a poem can be reduced to its explanation. But why is Brooks saying that? Who was he talking to? What was going on so that Brooks had to say this? He's talking to the English teachers and literary critics of the time. He is writing in the 1940s as a major proponent of a newly emerging approach called New Criticism. These new critics were totally opposed to the way literature was being taught in classrooms and interpreted by literary critics of the time. The teachers at that time would come to class, discuss authors' personal, historical, political inclinations in details, paraphrase the poem, and consider the work done without even beginning to look at the form and devices and the language of the poem. All they were concerned about what was the message of the poem. So they were highly focused on the message and not on the form of the poem. Brooks said, hold on, poetry is not a container that holds some hidden message inside for you. The poem is the message, and it expresses that message through its form, which includes rhythm, images, structures, and all of that. All these things are inseparable from the meaning of the poem. A poem is not just what it says, but how it says it. And Brooks put it beautifully when he said, a poem is not a statement, but a pattern of resolved stresses. Now, I know this sounds complicated, but it's actually really simple, and I demonstrate this statement with the help of examples later on, so don't worry. A poem, Brooks says, is not a statement because a statement is flat. Life is short. That's a statement. You are good. That's a statement. And statements are usually very, very flat. And what does he mean when he says it's a pattern of resolved stresses? Pattern means that the words, the sounds, the rhythm, imagery, and metaphors in the poetry create a pattern that can't be reduced to a statement. It's like music. You can't paraphrase a symphony into a happy tune or a sad tune. The beauty of that music lies in the arrangement of notes, the pattern of the notes. Similarly, in poetry, the pattern of these various devices, these various elements is important and makes the poem what it is. Stresses here refers to the tensions, conflicts, or opposing forces inside the poem, like love and death, hope and despair, permanence and change. In a good poem, you will find that these stresses get resolved through the pattern of the rhythm, imagery, tone, paradox, ambiguity, and other devices, other elements that the poet has used. Now let's try to understand Brooks's statement, the difficult one, with the help of an example. We look at frost stopping by woods on a snowy evening, and we look at its final stanza, which I absolutely love and have specially chosen for this. So the stanza says, "The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep." What a paraphrase would say this stanza means that even though nature looks beautiful, the speaker has duties and responsibilities to complete before he can rest or die. And that's correct in one sense. But did you notice the life, the music, the haunting effect that was created by those beautiful words that Frost wrote? It's all gone. Now it sounds like a line from a boring school essay. Now let us do a very close reading of the stanza together and see how the very lines that were reduced to a boring line through summary come alive with the form of the poem, with the pattern of the resolved stresses. So let's look at the first line. It says, "The woods are lovely, dark and deep." So these adjectives, lovely, dark and deep, these are slow and heavy adjectives. They make us slow down and create a sleepy, heavy, mysterious, hypnotic effect, almost drawing us in to feel what the speaker must be feeling. And the use of symbolism, where woods generally stand for nature or jungle, forest, but can also stand for the unknown, for temptation, or even death. In the poem, it can represent an escape to rest, an escape to death, an escape from duties and the allure of the unknown. This shows that the speaker, he may be tempted to rest, he may be tempted to choose pleasure over duty, or may be tempted to choose the wrong thing over the right thing, or it may even mean that the speaker is thinking about his own death, but is reminded that he still has duties to fulfill. The stacking of the adjectives, where lovely, dark, and deep appears one over the other, it creates a slow, deliberate rhythm which mirrors the speaker's contemplative state. Frost isn't just saying the woods look nice. Every word chosen here is chosen for its sound, its rhythm, its hypnotic effect. Similarly, in the second line, "But I have promises to keep," the little word but that begins the line changes everything. It breaks the spell. The mood before this was heavy, dreamy, sleepy, but suddenly it shifts to a jerk, a practical realization of duty, and pulls us back into the sense of responsibility. Like a jhatka that you get when you're trying to study but you feel sleepy, and then the jhatka makes you feel, okay, fine, now I'm awake, and you pull yourself together and start fulfilling your responsibility again. So, this is the first stress, the tension between the desire to linger in beauty versus duty to move forward. This is a tension that has been created. And therefore, line 1 appears to be soft, immersive, almost hypnotic, and line 2 is firm and grounded. And the juxtaposition of these two opposing tones creates tension, which is resolved later through the repetition in the final lines, which are, "And miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep." The repetition of these lines, which is also called, the device is called anaphora, creates a musical, chant-like, almost hypnotic effect. Its rhythm works almost like the sound of hooves of that horse which is carrying the speaker forward. It emphasizes the weight of duty and journey which must continue like the lines are continuing. It also mirrors the ongoing, unending nature of obligations. The way the lines are repeating and going on in a way, similarly, obligations keep repeating. One obligation gets over, then similar obligations arise. So the repetition of those lines serve so many purposes. The repetition of the word sleep gives the readers a chance to slow down and think about the multiple meanings, the layers of meanings that the word is creating here. Like sleep could mean literal rest, sleep could mean death, sleep could mean consummation of a pleasure, sleep could mean the easy choice. There are multiple meanings to that word. So notice how Frost doesn't just say that there is a tension between desire and duty. He shows it through sound, rhythm, repetition, imagery, and other elements. That's the poem's meaning. This is how a poem makes meaning. Take away the form, take away these elements, and the entire poem has lost its substance. So Brooks argues that paraphrase is a heresy because it assumes that a poem's meaning can be separated from its form. But in reality, form and content are inseparable. The meaning of the stanza is not detachable from its rhyme, rhythm, imagery, repetition. The devices are not there just for decoration. The devices are the meaning. If you are detaching those lines from its devices, which you do by paraphrasing, it's like taking oxygen and hydrogen apart in water and then wondering where did the water go. Now, some of you may ask, but aren't we supposed to explain poems in the exam when the teachers ask? Aren't teachers supposed to explain poems in the classroom to their students? Yes, of course, we can interpret and analyze. Brooks is not saying that don't analyze. What he's saying is do not reduce the poem to its paraphrase. You can discuss themes, emotions, tensions, contradictions in a poem, but never think that your paraphrase is equal to the poem itself. The poem's meaning is only fully alive when you read it as a poem and not as a piece of paraphrased prose. So the next time you read a poem and feel tempted to summarize it in one boring line, remember Cleanth Brooks whispering in your ear, do not commit that heresy. Instead, slow down, read it aloud, feel the rhythm, enjoy the imagery and other elements and so many layers of meanings, because that is where the real meaning of the poem lies. So that's it for the video. And if you've also encountered a poem being butchered by a bad paraphrase, do share that with me in the comment section. I'd love to hear your examples. Thank you so much for watching this video. Have a wonderful day.